A reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. Mark. The chief priests and the scribes and the elders sent to Jesus some Pharisees and some Herodians to catch him out in what he said. These came and said to him, "Master, we know you are an honest man, that you are not afraid of anyone, because a man's rank means nothing to you, and that you teach the way of God in all honesty. Is it permissible to pay taxes to Caesar or not? Should we pay, yes or no?" Seeing through their hypocrisy, he said to them, "Why do you set this trap for me? Hand me a denarius and let me see it." They handed him one, and he said, "Whose head is this? Whose name?" "Caesar's," they told him. Jesus said to them, "Give back to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and to God what belongs to God." This reply took them completely by surprise. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to the Lord Jesus Christ.
My dear brothers and sisters, another popular text from Scripture, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and to God what belongs to God. The first thing, be very careful and be extremely careful when people begin to praise you, when people begin to say, you're better than that other person. That is really the devil beginning to clap for you. And once you begin to entertain that, that becomes the beginning of your downfall. Be careful when, as a seminarian for instance, when another seminarian comes to you and begins to talk to you about how good you are and how bad other people are, other seminarians are. Because the tendency would be to try to maintain that level, and you want to look good in front of everybody and to maintain what people have said about you, and then you begin to live that double life. Be careful also, I have to be careful as a priest also, when people begin to come and telling me, Father Tony, you're very good, you're better than Father Anish, that is the devil beginning to clap for you, and once you begin to entertain that, that becomes the beginning of your downfall, because you want to uphold some pride in you, and you want to live that life at the level of what people are going to say about you. And that goes for every walks of life, on everything that you can ever think of. When people begin to come to you and tell you, I think you're the best family ever, you always know that something else is going to follow after that. And therefore you need to be very careful and to keep your life straight, do what you're supposed to do, independent of what people say about you, whether they say you're very good, you are better than other people. Forget about that. Don't listen to that. Just keep doing what you are doing. God does not praise you in front of you, no. God praises you behind you. When you are not even aware, the right people will praise you even without you being aware. That is the right praise. You are not supposed to know when people praise you. So when people begin to praise you and you can hear that, be extremely careful. Be extremely careful about that, because that is the beginning of your downfall. This is the same thing that happens to Jesus. See, these Pharisees and the Herodians, they are coming with their own plans. And they start like this, and they say, Master, we know you are an honest man. We know you are an honest man, and that you are not afraid of anyone, and that you speak what comes from your heart. You speak the truth at all times, and nothing can take that away from you. So that is the kind of thing that the language that we receive, especially when we are about to fall, when people begin to raise you up and make you feel like you are the best person ever living. Be very careful about that, because again, that is the devil clapping for you. And once you listen to the clap of the devil, that is the beginning of the downfall. Secondly, this text is one of the most misinterpreted texts. And they say, Give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and to God what belongs to God. Many people say, okay, I can live a double life. Okay, I can be a Christian, and at the same time, I can go to the quack doctors, and that is giving to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and giving to God what belongs to God. I can go for Mass, and then in the night, I go to the nightclubs and do other things. That is given to God what belongs to God. So being in church, having the time for prayer, and then also having time for other things. No, there is a reason why Jesus inserted the last part, because they are only asking him about paying taxes to Caesar. They are only asking him about paying taxes to Caesar. There is a particular reason why he inserts the fact that we must give to God also what belongs to God. Not only to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, but to God what belongs to God. Why? Because just yesterday Jesus gave the Pharisees the parable of the tenants. And the context was that the people, the tenants who were leased the vineyard, did not give to the master what was his due. They did not give to the master what was his due. So that is why they arrested other servants and killed others, and even killed the son of the master, because they wanted to get hold, they wanted to inherit the vineyard. So they did not want to return to the master what was his due. And that is why Jesus points out particularly, don't only talk about taxes, but you also, Pharisees, you must give to God what is his due. Give to Caesar what is his due, but also you must give to God what is his due. You must honor God. You must give God respect. You must worship him. You must remember that you are not lords. You are only servants. You have been sent. You have just been leased this vineyard, and you therefore have to account to the master, because this is what the Pharisees were not doing. And this is what Jesus pointed out to them. You must pay to Caesar what is Caesar's, but also you must pay to God what is his due. You must give to God what is his due, because this is what the Pharisees were not doing. And secondly, therefore, we have this kind of tendency at times as Christians to feel that because we are Christians, we are not meant to obey the law again. We are above the law. Or that the law is worldly, and we in the church as Christians, we are in a different dimension. And I think that is totally wrong, and that is the highest form of hypocrisy you could ever think of. I remember the time of the COVID, many people who would go out and say, I'm not going to put on a mask because that is just something from the government, and I'm a Christian, I don't have to do that. Okay? I don't have to put on the mask. I don't have to pay taxes because after all it goes to the government and they are all corrupt, and therefore they are going to eat my money. No. Jesus says clearly, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and to God what belongs to God. St. Paul picks up this theme again in Romans chapter 13 from verse 6, and he says clearly, we as Christians have an obligation to pay taxes to the government, because even though they might be corrupt or anything, they have been placed there by God. It doesn't matter if they are corrupt or not, you have to do your obligation as a good citizen. And therefore, to be a Christian, we have to be, first of all, good citizens. We cannot be good Christians without being good citizens. We must be able to respect the law. Romans again, chapter 13, verse 7, it says that pay taxes to those to whom taxes is due, pay revenues to those to whom revenue is due, pay respect to those to whom respect is due, and honor to those to whom honor is due. In other words, we must worship God, we must respect God, we must honor God, but we also have an obligation to respect our authorities. We have an honor to respect our presidents. We have an honor that when they are singing the national anthem, you stand up and you take the posture to respect the national flag and the national anthem. You don't say, okay, because I'm a Christian, I don't have to respect this, or it's idolatry. No, that is completely wrong. This is what Jesus talks about today. He's not talking about living a double life. He's not saying, okay, we can be Christians and then in the evening we are doing other things, or playing a double game, or living a double life. No, that is not what Jesus is saying. Jesus says we must pay to God that which is God. But again, remember the context is about the Pharisees who do not want to give God what is his due. They feel that because they are Pharisees, because of the pride and everything, they feel that they are the owners of the vineyard. And this is what Jesus says: give to God what is God's. So my dear brothers and sisters, we must remember one thing. If it's nothing, if you've forgotten everything I've said today, just have to remember that to be a good Christian, you have to be a good citizen. You have to be a good citizen. If we respect the government, we are also respecting God, because without God, they will not be where they are. And God has put them there because He wants to bring peace and harmony to the nation. Even if they fail in their responsibility, we must continue to be good citizens. When it's time for elections, don't say that I'm a Christian, therefore I don't support any of these people, I'm not going to vote. No, it's sinful. If you do not vote during the time of elections, it's a sin. If you have a way to vote, and maybe because of, I've never voted, for instance, because I've never been in my country during elections. But if you are here and you have the ability to vote, and you can vote, and you just deliberately refuse to vote, then you don't have a right to complain later on and say we have a bad government and everything. You did nothing about that. And one of the sins is to avoid, not to do something. I did nothing is one of the greatest sins. I had an opportunity to do something and I did nothing. So my dear brothers and sisters, again, to be a good Christian, we must be good citizens. Give to God what belongs to God, but also give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar.